Hi everyone, it's Ardith, and today I've got a bold graphic hello card using some Catherine Pooler Designs ink, supplies, and a simple Stencil-Shift technique. I'm starting with the split chevron stencil and a panel of premium white cardstock. And I'm so excited because I finally got some pixie spray, and this is the first time I'm going to use it. I'm reading the instructions on the back here, and they say to shake it well and then spray it from about 12 inches away. This spray will make the back of my stencil sticky enough to stay in place, but still removable without any residue left on the panel. It also says to wait about a minute between spraying and putting it onto the cardstock, so I flapped it around a bit to dry it off. Cleanup is easy too. Just put the stencil in a basin of warm soapy water and the stickiness is gone. When the minute was up, I stuck the stencil down onto my cardstock panel and I got ready for some ink blending. I wanted different colored stripes, so I used some Post-it tape to mask off the first area on the left edge, and then I blended some orange twist ink with a life-changing blender brush. I love these brushes. Sometimes blending ink over a stencil can damage the foam on the old blending tools, and especially on those little sponge daubers, but I haven't noticed any damage to the bristles on my brushes when I do the blending this way. Now, I won't make you watch all of that ink blending. You get the picture. But I did the whole panel by masking the stripes, then adding ink. First the orange, then blackjack, and finally party dress. I used quite a heavy hand so that I would get good vibrant coverage. And here it is. It's pretty just the way it is, but I'm going to take it a step further. First, I used a baby wipe to clean the ink off the top of the stencil. I could have spritzed the stencil with water and pressed it onto another panel of cardstock to get another card, but I was really focused on getting to the next step. I also dried the stencil before moving on. I placed the stencil back onto the panel, but I shifted the pattern down a bit so that the ink blended areas were under the stencil and the exposed areas were still white and uninked. And here's where I second-guessed myself. My original plan was to use Tiki torch ink, but I was worried that the contrast with the orange twist wouldn't be strong enough, so I used limoncello instead. Fortunately, this was not an irreversible decision. We'll talk about that in a minute. I finished the yellow and then I moved on to Twilight with the blackjack, and It's a Girl with the party dress. I reused the Post-it tape masks where I could and finished it off. Now you can see that my first choice of Tiki torch was really better than the limoncello here. The pink and gray are much more tone on tone, but the contrast in the orange stripe is a bit too much. So I simply replaced the stencil and mask, and I went back over the limoncello areas with the Tiki torch ink. And when that was finished, I was much happier with it. This is definitely a bold panel, lots of pattern and vibrant colors, so I knew I would want to add quite a lot of white to the card to balance it out. I started by trimming the panel with the largest stitched rectangle die from the Postage stamp die set. This will give me a nice white border on the card base. Next, I cut a white circle with one of the cookie dies from the Christmas cookies set. This will be the background of my hello sentiment, using a die from the Ways to Say Hey die set. I already cut one from mirror cardstock, and now I'm using my Gemini Jr and cutting it out from the white circle so I can inlay the gray one. When it came out, I left the word portion in the die so that I wouldn't lose the letter centers, and I took the rest of the circle to inlay the gray word. I really liked how the line under the word created a border, and I started rethinking my original design. Maybe the sentiment would look better sitting along the bottom of that colorful panel. Definitely something to consider. In the meantime, I used regular sticky tape to hold the hello die cut in the white circle piece, and I used my sharp scissors to trim down the tape and also the gray line so that it fit within the circle shape. Next, it was time to inlay the letter centers. Sometimes when I lay the die over top and poke the centers out with my craft pick, they drop perfectly into place, but not this time. No biggie. I just used the craft pick to shift them until they were all right where they were supposed to be. Then I flipped the panel over and rubbed it with my finger to make sure everything was really stuck in. And now, decision time. Should I take advantage of that border design opportunity and put the sentiment along the bottom? Or should I add the bottom of the circle to it and stick with the original plan? Let me know what you would have done in the comments below. Oh, and I was also going to add a bit more white by using this die from the Perfect Vine set, and that helped me make up my mind. The leaves added more white to my design, and I felt that the size of the branch worked best with the sentiment lower down on the panel. I popped up the sentiment with some foam tape, but I glued the leaves directly to the panel with some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I love this glue. I've been using it since January, and only once did it clog. And that may have been because I left the cap off too long. Finally, I used some Nuvo Dream Drops in Indigo Eclipse as an embellishment. I kept them all on the gray stripe since they do pick up the color of the ink behind them. These drops form little pearl-like embellishments and have a very pretty iridescence. Shifting a stencil is a really easy way to create a new look and get more from supplies you already have on hand. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel for more inspiration. Product links are below in the description and also on my blog. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.